Okay, now this is part 2. We've gone over the input and the majority of the front sheet, or the input sheet. Data sheet. No data, no typing, no changes, nothing on this page. But if you want to know how a draw's working, how a draw's moving, this will show you. Okay, you have column A, which is your draw number, your draw count. B will be your date, and this is made so that your date has to be put in on column C for this thing to work, because you don't want to get confused, and it's just good practice. If you're gonna do it, then do it. Column C, you have all your numbers as they're drawn in drawn order in one cell. Then you have D, E, and F where they're drawn separately, so you can see both versions. Okay, but this is drawn order. You have your total amount of draws, and H1I will give you your totals that each of these numbers in drawn order have been drawn. Okay, now if you count, if this will say 969's been drawn 14 times. If you go back down to find where 969 was drawn again, further back in the history, you'll see that it was only drawn 13 times there. If you go back further and find 969 again, you'll see that it was drawn 12 times. So you can watch that number grow, each one in column I, but at the top, wherever it's drawn the most, that's where you get your totals. Okay, you have your M through O, which is your odd even pattern. 9 is odd, 6 is even, 9 is odd. And then you have your combined pattern here for odd, even, odd, odd, even, odd. That's your drawn number as they're drawn. Okay, Q, column Q will be your 220 base simplified sets in ascending order. Okay, you have 000 at the top and 999 at the bottom. Alright, I'm gonna get this thing to slow down. Anyway, 999's at the bottom, and your account for each one that has been drawn. Okay, 000 has been drawn 5 times, and that happened 1,060 draws back. Doubles with 0 and 1, 13 times, 54 draws back. U is the same thing as Q is, except this is ranked. This ranks all combos to where they are, whichever ones are drawn the most, then they go at the top. Okay, 4, 7, 8's drawn the most, and it's around 110 draws on average. About every 110 draws on average. 4, 7, 8's drawn here in the North Carolina evening. 43 times, 8 draws back. 0, 1, 2, and 3, 5, 7 have both been drawn 42 times. 0, 1, 2 smaller than 3, 5, 7, so it goes up 53 times and 12 times a piece, or games back. 53 games back and 12 games back. All your data in ascending order, so you can find your numbers easy. Ranked in U through W. Okay, X is, you see X is less than games back. Okay, for this 4, 7, 8 that was 8 games back, there are 2 times that it went less than 8 games before 4, 7, 8 repeated. For 0, 1, 2, it's 53 games back. There are 13 times that 0, 1, 2 went less than 53 times, 53 draws before it repeated in any combination of the 0, 1, 2. Same thing with the 4, 7, 8. 39 times, which is X is greater than games back. That means that 39 times this 4, 7, 8, or any combination of 4, 7, 8 was drawn, was more than 8 games before it was drawn again. So you've had a better chance of going more than 8 games before 7, 8 is going to be drawn again. You can look and tell for each number in X and Y to see about what happens. Now, Z is if your number is even or odd. That's ranked and sorted. So 478 is an even number. 012 is an even number. 357 is an odd number. 047 is odd. And then you have your separated pattern. 4 is even, 7 is odd, and 8 is even. Even, odd, even. And then you have your combined pattern in AD. Okay, now this is a little trick that I've put in here. That's helped me out a lot in a lot of stuff. Okay, this percentage in AE. 478 has been drawn 43 times out of 4,999 draws. Okay, that is 0.86% of the draws is 478 or any combination of 4, 7, and 8. 012, 42 times. That's 0.84, same as 357, 0.84%. Okay, now you get your percentage that each number is made up of the draws in AE. AF, this is combined percentage. Okay, that means that 478 or any combination of 478 is made up 0.86% of the draws and 0.86% of the draws combined. Okay, 012 is made up 0.84. So 478 and 012 combined have made up 1.70% of the draws. Just these two numbers, or these two combinations. Same thing with 357. 2.54% if you combined all three of those percentages, they make up 2.54% of the draws. So these three numbers, 478, 012, and 357, any combination of those have made up 2.54% of the draws. And you can look down and you can see all the way down to 100%, however much combined at the most drawn numbers. Okay, these are drawn the most at the top. So the further you go down, that means that you could use just those numbers or the variations of those numbers and this percentage at a time, or this percentage at a time, depending on how far back you go. So if I wanted to go, say if I wanted to win around 90%, I would have to go to 89.96% of the draws, and that's 688 up. So 172 of the 220 simplified sets or combinations have made up almost 90, right at 90% of the draws. So that's a pretty big percentage of the draws, considering there are 1,000 different combinations to begin with. Okay, now you have that takes care of your base combos. AH through AQ is all going to be exactly the same, except that you can always see, you don't have to scroll down. I hate scrolling all over the place to try to find what I'm looking for. It's just waste of time. Put it where you can find it. AH is your draw count. So I have my newest draws at the top here every time. All my data that I want to look at is right here together, so I'm not scrolling all over the place looking for it and wasting time. I hate wasting time. Draw count, newest number, last number, simplified. 969 was the last draw. 699 is its simplified form. 14 times 699 has been drawn. It is an odd number. It is even, odd, and odd, 6, 9, and 9, even, odd, odd pattern combined, and that 699 is in the 90.24 percentile of the numbers. So that means that this number is in the top 90%, top 90+% of the numbers that has been drawn the most. Same thing for 379, which was 4,000 draw, 4,998, 41 times, odd number. That number 379 is made up only the 5% of the draws that have been made. Okay, pay close attention to these whenever you're going through. You can see 60%, 20%, 60%, 0%, 90%, 80%, 40%. You can see that it changes. Keep that in mind. Okay, now over here you just have your data on repeats. Okay, the last number being an odd number, if you combined it like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is an odd number. Okay, there are out of 220 combinations, 125 of those are odd. Out of 220 combinations, 95 of those are even. Okay, that 125, that's 56.82%. That all numbers, or the number that was chosen or could be chosen, is odd. 43.18% that the number can be chosen is even. Okay, you've got 2,864 draws, 57.29% that of all the 4,999 draws, 57.29% of those was an odd number. Okay, that's a little better than half, but you've got a little better than half of odd numbers. Same thing for the even. 42.71% of the draws were even. 2,135 times. That's real close because you've got less even numbers, so it evens out. If you've got more of something, you're going to get the more of something the majority of the time, the better than half of the time, and that's just the way it works. Okay, you have your repeats here. Okay, these are even repeats and these are odd repeats. Okay, now on odd repeats you can see that it has 12 through 1. Depending on your draw history and how your numbers have worked, this will change accordingly and it will adjust to whatever your data is. Okay, let's say that this odd, it's been repeated odd 3 times in a row the last 3 draws. That's right here. This means that the movement of an odd number has repeated. It's been odd 3 times in a row, 200 times. 5 times even in a row, 19 times. Same thing, you got your total repeats for each one. Okay, now here you have your repeat percentage. That just means that one has been drawn, or it's been odd. It went odd 12 times in a row, one time, and that's 0.03% of the draws that the number was odd. 11, it repeated 11 times 3 times, and that made up 0.10%. You look down here, it was separating or changing from one draw to the next, from odd to even. That means it was odd, the next draw it was even, the next draw it was odd. That's happened 532 times for 18.58%. Same thing on your even data over here. You have your total moves. Next, okay, this 532 times is odd, then it going even, then it going odd number, then it going even number. That's 532 movements out of 2,000, well actually 4,999. Okay, now if you look at the next one up, the number being odd again as repeating just odd and odd one game to the next. That's happened 307 times, but that's actually 614 movements. So you've actually had a better chance of odd repeating itself than you have for odd to switch back over to even. Same thing for odd repeating 3 times. It's only happened 200 times, but it's 600 total movements that the number was odd 3 times in a row, which is a better chance of happening than it repeating or it switching from odd to even. You're almost have a better chance of it repeating 4 times odd as you do as it switching from odd to even, according to the movements that it's made. And again, you still have you have the same data over here, your total moves. Even has been even switched to odd, even switched to odd 723 times. So you have a better chance of this repeating odd, or is even coming up and then switching back to odd. Okay, you have your total movement percentage. That is only the percentage of this for the moves that it's made. Your games back, this thing repeated, or the draws repeated odd 12 times in a row, 2,672 draws back. We repeated odd 3 times in a row, 3 draws back. Same thing with over as before, where the count less than on the greater than games back. This is only one time that the 12 has repeated. Let's say that on this 11, where it repeated odd 11 times, that happened 3 times. Out of those 3 times, twice it was less than 2,829 draws in between draws before it happened. Same thing for 3. Let's say 3. We had a repeat of 3 odds in a row, 200 times, happened 3 draws back. It never happened in less amount of draws. So 4 draws or more, that I know that it's going to be more times than 3 draws before this is going to repeat again. You have your average in between. So about every 9 draws on average, you're going to have an odd number, then it repeat to even. About every 16 draws on average, then you're going to have the odd repeat to 2 draws and then go back to even. Your max between, this has went 72 draws. This game has 72 draws before an odd happened and then switched back to even. And then you have your per average, which is the amount of times, your average between games. So, or your average, of this happening. Say 3 repeats of odd happen 200 times. About every 25 draws, you're going to have a repeat of 3 odds. About every 50 draws, on average, you're going to have a repeat of 4 odds in a row. That's just on average. That don't mean that's exact. That's average. And then you've got your same data for the even. Okay, I'll get ready for part 3.